with Shadwo, aka Corn Pop. Yeah,
I was waiting for that.
We coming at you live from, Tennessee and Florida, California. We're chilling like villains down with Bob Dylan's and all that good shit. Justin
Amen.
is late, and he always gives Shadow a ration of shit when he's late. So
He's being a slacker.
We're going to give him shit for being late.
It's good for the goose, So how was your weekend, bro?
Pretty boring. I slept a lot.
Oh, that must be nice.
I wasn't feeling 100%, so I figured I'd just sleep. And then we had our game last night, our wherever fantasy game, and that was a lot of fun. There's a lot of shit going on there. Found out ogres don't like it when you stab them in the throat with a rapier.
I'm pretty sure they're not alone in that. I'm pretty sure you'd be hard pressed to find something that enjoys that. So do you play via Skype or something like that when you're playing?
Facebook Messenger.
Okay.
It works for everybody involved. I'm not the only one who's playing via Messenger. My brother's sister-in-law and her boyfriend play too.
Right on. With Bo, we play on Discord, and I'll probably be running my game next year on Discord as well.
Yeah, when we do be on the screen. Hey, what's up, TCG?
What's up,
when
bro?
We do be on the screen. We're gonna be doing it on. Bears said we can do it on his StreamYard.
Okay.
Because he has unlimited.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't. Hey, what's up, Raven? Good morning.
Hi, Raven. And we can stream it on our channels too to get more views.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be everybody's subs will be able to watch it on whoever they want. Hey there, out there, oh there, Bear.
We were just talking about you. Nothing good, of course.
So that way it can get out to more people, which is what I want. Like I said, this is just the goofball stream. We come here, we have fun, we do what we want, we say what we want. But what I really want for beyond the screen, I really want something serious. But I really wanted some coffee.
Cheers, man.
You drink your water, fucking hydrated bastard. Hey, Dual Squatch. We're going to do a live stream game with GMs playing and GMs DMing. It's going to be a round robin 5 session for each GM. And it's just we're going to live stream it. We're going to have it where, the people are always the GMs get to play. Plus, we see everybody's different GM styles. Bear can't join. What a freaking slack ass.
Speaking of slackers, where the hell's Justin?
I don't know where the hell Justin is, that some bitch. I also got a new philosophy for role-playing games. It's not the treasure, or the XP that you get, but it's the war crimes and atrocities you get to commit.
I can get behind that, but there's got to be treasure involved.
Well, yeah, but the treasure and the XP is not the important thing of a D&D game. It's the war crimes and atrocities you get to commit. Yeah, somebody else said it a lot better. Let me find that shit. Hold on.
My friend Kevin, who was on my show Saturday night, or tried to be on the show Saturday night, one of my oldest friends from the real world. He and I and a bunch of other slackers, we probably broke the record for war crimes.
Check this out.
D&D, remember, it's not about the gold, it's not about the monsters or the.
Oh, just play. My phone's been acting super
items,
tired.
the true adventure.
Come on.
Wow.
If you play D&D, remember, it's not about the gold, it's not about the monsters or the magical items. The true adventure is the war crimes that the party does along the way. If you play D&D, remember, it's not about
the true adventure is the war crimes the party has along the way.
I suppose, but I've been playing for about a year and a half as a player online lately, which is like the longest stretch I've ever got to be a player. I'm really up to here with tightwaddedness.
Always remember, bro, it's not a war crime the first time.
Yeah. Well, my previous party, they never did anything just once. They were really, really good at repetitive war crimes.
What is up, Cyborg?
Hey, Cyborg. But yeah, you got to be able to, not just hand out loot, but hand out meaningful loot.
Well, yeah. My loot, the way I like to do loot, is I like to be an asshole. If like the players end up finding a magic weapon, I like to roll random, and I am just praying, like deep down in the bottom of my soul, I'm praying that it's a weapon that nobody uses.
See, that's...
I roll random. It's not up to me. It's up to the fates, man. It's up to the dice. But I'm really, really hoping that it's going to be like a +1 freaking, halberd that nobody gets.
Okay, Doodle. Yeah. I found the best way to combat that is to just run a barbarian. That way, I don't need anything, and the GM can't really screw me over when it comes to that. It's like, whatever I get, just going to spend it, get drunk, and, look for more things to kill. And
Doodle squash. Come on, man. Do not allow GMs to play ever. No mercy, no forgiveness. They killed my character. I don't think I'll ever get over it. Look at this two wizards dispensing magic knowledge, and another GM that's an a-hole. See, they're monsters. What's up, Flady? Glad you could join in. No, Doodle Squatch. It's all random. Okay, so if I roll a weapon that nobody can use in the party, I'm not going to change that weapon. It's going to be, okay, I wrote that they're finding a +1 light crossbow. Yay. A +1 halberd. Yay. A +1 bastard sword, because nobody takes bastard sword anymore. Yay.
Actually, that's not true. One of the few characters I did get to run, as a matter of fact, it was almost a year ago in Mark's Genre Mixers Christmas game we ran. I ran an elf who didn't do the bow thing. He ran around with a bastard sword. I actually, I
Yeah,
own a.
but how often do you see a player playing with a bastard sword? You don't see it. It's not a common thing.
It's one of my favorites, to be honest. I have one upstairs.
Oh yeah, bastard swords are great, but players normally don't pick bastard swords. Normally, it's always long sword or something like that. Long swords and maces and axes are the three main weapons that player characters choose to use. In my experience of 20 plus years of playing Dungeons and Dragons, it's been like that. So,
What's up, Max?
what up, Max? So, what up, Hungar? Hello, Hungar. Corn Pop. That's freaking awesome. So, one of my favorite weapons to use is spear, short spear and shield. Kicking it Roman style. You don't see a lot of that. So it's like, but the point is, I don't care what the player characters are using in the game. When I roll random treasure and I roll random weapon and it comes up to something that nobody uses, I'm not going to change my roll to suit the party. What I want is the party to figure out what they're going to do with this treasure that they get. That's their job. Their job is, okay, we got a +1 halberd. Nobody's using a halberd. So what are we going to do with this halberd?
Just freaking sell it, divvy the gold, and move on.
Exactly. Or somebody might say, you know what? I want to learn how to use a halberd. Like last night, we found some really, really good great axes, some really decent great axes in our Warhammer Fantasy role playing. So the knight has decided that he wants to learn how to use a great weapon because he just thinks that it would be cool. So he kept one of them. And when he gets a chance, he said he's going to learn how to use the great weapon because he thinks that will fit in with his knight character. So, that makes sense. I like it when you give out random loot that I like it to be random. I really do. And I want the players to find a use for it besides selling it. Because I tell you what, you go to a normal ass town with a magical weapon and you try to sell it, there's not going to be enough money in the damn town to buy it. Because magic weapons are very rare and cost a lot. And you can't just go down to the magic weapon store and pick up a +1 sword because that shit don't exist in my world. So that magic weapon in an average town, so you go to an average town, it's got a bar, maybe an apothecary's shop, maybe not, the keep and, the normal buildings you're going to find in a town, chances are there's not going to be thousands of gold pieces in this town.
Well, you just wait until you get to a town like that.
Yeah, you lug this thing around, not using it at all.
Yeah.
Until you get to a town where you might be able to sell it, or somebody finds out that you've got it, and they might send somebody or try to steal it themselves because it's a rare and wonderful item. Or somebody learns how to use it and slices and dices somebody up. I'd rather somebody learn how to use it and slice and dice.
It sounds kind of boring.
Sounds kind of boring.
I don't want the game to be about that one magic item that, in every other game would be, not common, but, not as big a deal, unless, magic in itself in the game is almost non-existent.
You know how I feel about high magic worlds. You like a high magic world.
I actually prefer like to be honest, more rules as written with the percentages. When it comes to the good old fashioned AD&D treasure table, when you're rolling up treasure, most treasure types have about a 20% chance of there being one or more magic items, roughly. There's some tables where it's up to 50% or even a guarantee or like 85% for potions and
Yeah, but
scrolls.
what's written in the front of the book?
You mean the back of the book?
No, in the front of the book, it says DMs should make the game the way they want it ran.
That's actually in the afterword in the back of the book.
It's also, I think it's in the front, but I'm not going to argue tonight. I like a low magic world. I don't like everybody on the planet running around with a +1 weapon.
Oh, absolutely not. But I don't want to waste 2 or 3 sessions worrying about a +1 magic item.
Why would you worry about it?
Well, I mean, having to get your money's worth for it or what have you. If
I'm just
going to be that way, you might as well just run a barbarian who doesn't want them at all, and just okay, fine. You guys worry about the magic item. I'm going to get more money.
Ew, squirrel. I'm just saying that in any world that I've ever ran, any campaign, hell, even any like pre-written world, Greyhawk, Forgotten Realms, Dragonlance, what have you, right? An average small town is not going to have thousands of gold pieces in it.
No, but at that rate, what's to stop the players to just
traveling to a larger town?
Well, not just that, just leave it behind and say, fuck it. It's going to be too much of an effort. We're just going to get robbed for it.
Or just somebody in the party taking it and using it. What's to stop that from happening? A fighter can automatically, in any D&D rules that you play, if you're playing straight out D&D or BX or OSC, any fighter can pick up a halberd and chop somebody with it. Just because they normally use a longsword and a shield doesn't mean that they can put that longsword and shield up and start using the halberd.
Right, depending on the system,
more damage.
You're looking at you could be looking at minuses to use non-proficient weapons, right?
A fighter can use any weapon except for if you're going up to 3.5 or 3.0. If they are a fighter, they can use any martial or simple weapon. A halberd rose under a martial weapon. The only thing that they couldn't use, there's no penalty.
In AD&D, there absolutely is. I can go get the book right now. It's like -2.
Prove me wrong.
Oh my god.
So this is an interesting argument, I think. If you like it, give a thumbs up in the chat. If you don't like it, well, I don't give a shit. It's my show and I do what I want. How's everybody in the chat doing? Oh, Doodle Squatch, at the Crafting Gamer may be a virus or brain parasite that causes the host to hoard valuables. It might be interesting. That is true. That is true. I like the idea of a cursed item where it makes it where the player character wants to have a hoard too. That is awesome. Show me where it says that a regular fighter can't use a halberd.
Fighter gets 4 initial weapon proficiencies. Non-proficient penalty is -2. Gets a new proficiency every 3 levels. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh, I believe you. If you ain't got to show it to me. I believe you. If you read it just to make sure. Okay.
And I don't know about BX or anything past 2nd edition. I don't own the
3rd
books.
edition, if it's a martial weapon, a fighter can use it. The only thing that they can't use without a penalty is exotic weapon like bastard sword, dwarven axe, gnome pick, a few other weapons. So, like if you're running
That's
a three,
pretty generous and sort of, uh, actually, I think the Gladiator in second edition Dark Sun could also use any weapon, but they never got the ability to specialize. Uh,
yeah,
which
with your specializations in 3.5 or 3.0 and further, that's an actual feat. So if you want to say you want to take weapon
Leonard
specialization,
Arcana and second edition also, you could take a slot and specialize with a weapon, get or double specialize, getting between a
yeah,
+1 and a
what
+3 to
what,
attack and damage.
what the feats do is if you have weapon specialization, first you take weapon focus, which means that okay, you're focusing on slash weapons, blunted weapons, whatnot, piercing weapons.
Yeah, no, I've played third and Pathfinder, and not a
Yeah,
fan of
so it is. So then you take the feat weapon
freaking paint feats.
specialization, and you say I'm going to specialize in longsword, and then you take greater weapon specialization and longsword, so you get better critical chance, better hit bonus, better damage, because you're ultimate specialist in said weapon, which a lot of people like that. I like the fact that if you are a fighter class, you pretty much know how to use a martial weapon. Are you going to be great at every martial weapon? No, but you can use it. Everybody's laughing at your name, Corn Pop.
I've got about this many fucks to give when it comes to
Come
nicknames.
on, you know that's hilarious.
Oh yeah. You guys have come up with several good ones. I actually wish it would have come a little later. That way, I could have bought a box of corn pops and brought them, and just snacked on them during the show. Because those are freaking good. And it's been years since I had that.
What corn pops kick ass.
Like I said, you can eat right out of the damn box. That was always the problem growing up, is they never made it to the bowl. It's just like,
Last night I wanted a snack while I was playing Warhammer Fantasy, but I didn't want anything overly sweet and I didn't want anything really unhealthy. So I had some dry Honey Nut Cheerios.
okay.
It could be a draconic bioweapon in Shadowrun, maybe. Yeah, or in any like role playing game, you find a weapon. It's made with dragon bone, or it's got dragon. You find some dragon scale armor or something like that, and you decide that you want to use it, and then it's cursed where you take on the aspect of greed that a dragon has. So you start trying to hoard all the treasure that you can get your grubby little hands on. And what's cool about that?
Already come afflicted with that, just as a general principle.
Well, some dwarves are afflicted with that.
I've never met a player character that wasn't.
Yeah, dwarves can get gold fever. The Craft Gamer says Palladium, my main jam, has living weapons that can actually alter your personality. Yeah, they have sentient weapons in D&D.
Yeah.
Like, what is it? Black Razor, Warduke's sword.
My sword, what are you talking about? I've had that sword for 3 or 4 generations of PCs. I got it out of the module as a player. I got the sword. My character handed off to his kid, grandkid, and great grandkid. Actually,
your character must be having a large hate on for his descendants. You pass it on, Black Razor. Hey, you're a good guy. Welcome to evil, bitch. I mean,
no, the whole family's pretty much evil.
Well, they'd have to be.
Actually, that's not true. The original son was chaotic neutral and hated the freaking thing, boxed it up, and just passed it on to his kid, who turned out being full on chaotic evil. Then his
Isn't
daughter
Warduke's
is
daughter
like,
the one running around now?
Pardon?
Warduke had a daughter, and she's the one running around with his armor and weapon.
Really have no idea. I watched the cartoon a little bit, and
I'll be right back.
that was about it. Since the 90s, I have not paid a whole lot of attention to what's been official, and I never did the Dragonlance thing. I have the comic books, like the whole set. Never read them. I did read the the hardback Dragonlance, AD&D book, and I found the whole world to be rather boring and kind of watered down to my liking. But I know it was pretty popular, but I don't tend to run with what's popular. I go with what weird shit sparks my interest. And Dragonlance was never one of those things. Although I bet those comic books probably were worth a pretty penny right about now. But whatever you do, don't sell comic books or Magic the Gathering cards on eBay. You will get screwed every time. Buying them, that's a different thing. I've never had a problem buying a comic book. Actually, once I bought a Jonah Hex comic book that is number 1, so even in shitty condition, it's actually worth quite a bit of money, and I got it for very cheap, but the condition, it's not so good.
All right. I've discovered something recently. Well, I've always been a fan of white rice. A little soy sauce, a little chili oil on it. But instead of eating a lot of bread, like toast and stuff for breakfast, I've been having my over medium eggs over some white rice. You just mix that up and mouth out on it. And that
if you're gonna do that, you gotta do it over chilaquiles.
That shit is delicious.
Not a fan of rice. I have yet to meet a rice that maybe go wow. Maybe a couple occasions some Spanish rice, but for the most part,
I've been listening to the Vapors. I think I'm turning Japanese. I really think so.
I played that song for Jackie a while ago, and he died a little inside.
That, you know what that song's about, right?
Mm-hmm.
About jerking a gherkin.
Okay, I was not going to say that, nor would I have ever thought that. Whoa.
I got your picture. I
thought he was just. I thought he just had a crush.
I like to keep it all by myself. I want the doctor to take your picture so I can look at the inside of you as well. I think I'm turning Japanese.
I would have never got that from that song. I just figured it was just Yellow Fever and left it at that. Wow.
No, it's not Yellow Fever, bro.
Can it be? Can I just keep that here in my world? And the last thing I want to do is think about somebody, Yeah.
Here, let's see.
And still no Justin. What the fuck?
I don't know.
The ration of shit he's gonna get. I mean, the only excuse he can have is that he's actually asleep. Or the Royal Mounties finally got him again.
Turning Japanese is about nervous energy. The conclusion made by many was the track's title was about how one's facial expression looks when climaxing.
Yeah. There's another aspect of the 80s that will have to get memory hold.
You know what? The 80s were perverted.
Yeah, but they were perfect.
Yeah.
Busy working on his D6 system. Why bother? There's enough systems to last a lifetime.
Because creative people want to create. And
create a new world.
creative
something
nerds want to create nerd stuff.
Yeah. Bores the
I'm
shit
not
out
that
of me.
I'm not that freaking creative.
Yeah, see, for
Look
me,
at
it's all
Mr. Max. The link has been in the chat. This is the third time I posted the link in the chat, Mr. Max. You're like, send the link, motherfucker. Oh.
yeah, number crunching and all that. Leave that to the accountants and the folks that are into that. True art is, something visual or audible or tactile.
Okay. I want you
Mix
to
the
read the
numbers
chat real
around.
quick.
Pardon?
Yeah, Shadwell. I posted the link in the chat, right?
Mhm.
Right under that, Mr. Max posts this.
I know. Yeah.
Oh, what up, ODG? ODG into his house. Mr. Max.
Max.
Hi
Mr.
there,
Max,
guys.
you know what? We're gonna have to start calling you Mr. Max Headroom because that's all there
Yeah.
is, man. Just,
I see him and I see Holly.
Okay, there we
It's
go.
like, what's up, Holly?
Yep.
I'm trying to pack up my stuff, getting ready for my move, and choosing what I keep, what I get rid of. A lot of shit that I accumulated over the year, like you 10 years.
Remember to use your clothes as packing material.
All my clothes are always like in a plastic bin.
Now,
So,
what you do,
I don't need
if
to
you have
pack
any,
those.
if you have any fragiles that you want to make sure are taken care of, pack your clothes around them
Yeah.
when you're packing them up. That way, keep them steady, and it'll give them the cushion that they need to help keep them from being broken.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah.
You kill two frogs
I don't
with one.
picture Mr. Max having anything really fragile.
No, I don't actually. I don't actually have anything really fragile.
That's what I was
Max
saying.
Like
only has-
everything that I have that was fragile got broken already.
Max only has man stuff.
Only I'm like I got like I need to be careful not to make my box too heavy. So that's one thing I need to do. Sometimes I don't think about it. I just like, I know that's good. But then like
Yeah, he had
I
put
hire,
all
like,
of his weights in one box.
yeah, then I hire like mover and they say like, "Well, I can fucking move that." I say, oh man.
Oh, and remember, on all your boxes, cardboard boxes, right?
I use plastic
Little-
bin.
Okay. That's probably better, but another tip I learned is always write family photo albums or books because nobody
Awesome.
steals that shit.
Yeah.
Nobody even wants to look at it. It's like, you know what I mean? If you put, records or, things like that, those are going to be like the first things people, who help you move are going to, look into. What's up, Bo?
Books is pretty much all I have anyway.
Your October work is pretty damn cool, TCG. What up, Bo Paints Managers?
You're talking about like a magic item changing personality of people earlier, right?
We're talking about. I was getting ready to ask you, what did you think about our earlier conversation? Let's get somebody else's opinion on this because it'll be 2 against 1 with.
I was listening from the kitchen, eating some summer.
All I hear when I hear those
And,
arguments is I'm too afraid to give the party anything good because then they're going to be too powerful for my monsters.
No, I want my party to fucking work.
The problem, like the reason I don't give a magic item that much, if any. Well, I would give some once in a while, but usually I'm like very much toned down. But the reason is always like I want to keep the fantastical fantastic, So if you give too much, it becomes mundane. If the fantastical is everywhere, the fantastical become mundane in this world. You know what I mean?
Or it becomes Gonzo.
Or it becomes
Gonzo.
But exactly, when everything goes, like nothing is special anymore. So that's not the vibe I go for.
But couldn't that make them also work harder to be unique?
No.
Well, then you have to make something like very, very exceptional and kind of oftentimes like some kind of goofy to make it unique.
Like the D&D cartoon. The D&D cartoon is a great cartoon. I love the D&D cartoon. But everybody in the freaking cartoon has a magic weapon.
Yeah.
I don't think that it should be like that. I think that when a player character finally gets a magic weapon that they can use, that it should be a big deal for that character. It should be a great reward.
And also,
if everybody's if there's magic just lying around, oh look, there's a magic dagger right here. I'm going to pick this up and just use it as a backup weapon. Why?
I also don't want
a lot of people like that. I mean,
yeah, that's what I'm about to say. I don't want the player to be motivated by the loot they can get. I want their character to have motivation, their character to have like stuff that they want to achieve, to accomplish. And if they can get like magic item along the way to help them in those goals, that's fine. But
Man, you guys are getting me to not want to even play in your games. Damn, dude.
Hey, that's your
Do something
decision,
like
bro.
Halo and freaking, let some shit out.
Yeah, no, but like that's I'm known for that. My games is very like low magic, very toned down, very I don't do like the gonzo thing at all. I do something very serious. But what I want to say about like the magic item that change personality of character, you don't have a need to make that in the magic item as mechanics at all, because you see like people like it's always like the Max Lia often use like this example from a Bruce game, which is kind of weird, about like, oh, the blue dragon that's give me your magic item and I let you live, and they say, well, I guess we got to fight you, and then they all fucking die. You know what I mean? Like that's you got a magic item, fucking change your personality, because now you get so focused on that and you're gonna fucking die before giving it away. At some point, this magic item possessed you, even though there's no mechanic to it, just by the nature of like human greed and shit like that. You get possessed by the magic item, and that's always what's gonna happen.
If I have a dwarf in my game, or if I'm playing a dwarf that is like an expert at, say, weaponsmithing or armor smithing, I will let them create a magical item, but it's dwarven magic, not magic. So it's dwarven magic is different than like magic user magic, and I will let them spend time and experience points creating like a +1 dwarven war axe or +1 hammer, something that a dwarf would use. But I want my magic items, I want it to be something that is going to mean something to the player that gets it. It's just not going to be a comment.
You could have both if you've got decent players, who aren't spoiled. But at the same time, you're
just wishing for too much, Shadwell.
No, I've had some pretty good experience over the years where it's not something you could experience in most books. I think that's one of the main reasons we play, is because we want to be the character, be the hero, and experience things that you can't find elsewhere. And one of the main things you can't find elsewhere is the whole concept of magic. If you've got such a foul taste for magic, you might as well tell your magic user players not to even show up. It's going to be harder.
I like my magic user players, but you know what? My magic user players aren't going to be out casting spells willy-nilly. They're going to have to roll a dice. They're going to have a roll of dice when they cast the spell, and if they mess up, they can really mess up. Bad shit can happen.
Yeah,
I hate the mutations being.
I hate that. So many, the original games, no one had to, roll to see if they fucked up. That's like telling a fighter every time he swings, I want you to roll percentage to see if you fumbled.
When a fighter rolls his dice, if he fucks up on that hit roll, if they roll a 1, they're going to fumble that shit.
Only if the game has.
Getting a 20, they're going to get a critical. Rolling a 1 they're going to get fucked up. That's the same thing with a magic user. If a magic user rolls a 1, casting his spell on the die 20, they fumble, they fuck up. If they roll a 20 on that dice, they do very, very well.
Now that's okay if it's built into if it's actually in the book that there's a fumble crit system. But if you try to import that to a game that wasn't meant to have it, I think you're making a really grievous mistake. There are games out there where fumbles and crits are part of the system.
Yes.
But the original D&D games from white box to second edition, there was no such thing for a reason, because you have hit points. If you try importing that, you throw off the entire game mechanics to where, okay, I've got 10 kobolds. I'm going to grab a stack of 20s. Boom. You're going to get a lot of crits and fumbles. And fumbles to me just make the game seem kind of, Keystone Cop-ish.
Because nobody ever fucks up when they're doing something that takes a lot of skill.
Depending on how it's done. I think like some people like overdo the fumble.
Right. I mean, when you kill yourself on a fumble,
no.
I've literally been in a game where 2 people killed themselves in a fumble in one night.
You're not going to kill yourself in a fumble, but there's a chance that if you're firing a weapon into combat,
I've yet to see a fumble chart where that isn't a possibility.
When you're firing a weapon into a combat and you roll a 1, or if you roll like 100 on percentile dice and you're doing low percentile like Warhammer Fantasy, there's a chance that you're going to either your bowstring's going to break, you can shoot one of your party members in the back, you can shoot yourself in the foot. You know, there's a bunch of different things that can happen. I like the fumble charts. Now, the only way that somebody's going to kill themselves is if they roll extremely bad on their fumble.
And if you're, especially like in CNC, I was in a game a while back where a guy literally killed himself from a broken bowstring.
How you kill yourself with a broken bowstring?
The chart said that's what the DM rolled with.
You see, that's just stupid.
If the dice said if the roll says you fumble and kill yourself, then
there is no humanly possible way. There's no possible way to be killed by a broken bowstring while you're pulling back a bow. That is impossible.
It's possible if you lacerate your throat.
I've been hit in the throat by a broken bowstring. It's not going to cut your damn throat.
That's why I think for the most part, and mind you,
that's you know, like there's the bad GM out there. You know what I mean?
I'm actually working behind the scenes with a company that has a fumble system, and it's a possibility. You know, if you're going to run the gamut of 0 to 100, let's say on your fumble chart, there's going to be you killed yourself. Now,
with a broken bowstring, there's no way in my game you're going to fucking kill yourself.
Then what? Okay, if you roll and it says you kill yourself and you're armed with a bow,
then it's going to be something different than a broken bowstring. Maybe the bow shatters and splinters hit you in the eye. A broken bowstring,
yeah, that happens,
cannot actually physically kill you.
So, Bo, did you ever break your string?
Bo, have you ever broken
a splintered arrow could mess you up.
Yeah, sure. But a broken bowstring's not going to cut your throat.
No, that's what the GM rolled with. It might have been something else, but either way, my point is that most martial characters spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours practicing with their weapon. The likelihood of a fumble should be so much more diminished with a professional.
Yeah, that's something I would agree with Shadow there. I think like the fact that the fumble is only based on the D20 is kind of problematic because like it doesn't vary. Like you always have a 5% chance of a fumble no matter what your level is.
When I run a game that has fumbles and crits, normally it's with percentile dice.
Yeah.
If you roll a 100 on your percentile dice, you're going to fuck up. Now, I'm going to put a caveat to a fighter who has a lot of hours training with their weapon. Okay, I'm a trained chef. I've worked in kitchens for years. Mm-hmm. I've cut myself with a fucking knife. I've used knives for thousands of hours.
Right.
60, 70 hours a week with a knife in my hand. That doesn't mean I'm not going to cut myself.
That's why rolls at critical times are important. I mean, like I said, everybody knows how to drive their car to the corner market. But, if your name's Dale Earnhardt, you only got to critically fail one time, right? You put that car right into the wall, and that's Dale Earnhardt. Mm-hmm. And my point regarding when I was in the chat regarding the martial classes is that what I hate about D&D especially, a martial character with no gear sucks. A magic using character with no gear still has his magic. You have to find a way to make it work if you really expect me to play and enjoy D&D, right? Make a martial character good with nothing but a stick. So he doesn't have to have this incredible magic item creep. I have a +1 sword when I'm first level. If I don't have a +5 sword when I'm 7th level or 8th level, then the game sucks. Well, the game sucks. Mechanically, the game is flawed because it relies on magic item creep to make martial characters successful in the game.
I'm
But
playing a
the-
martial character in Warhammer Fantasy. I do not have
You disagree
any
with that.
armor. I don't have armor. My character wears a puffy shirt, a leather vest that's not armored leather, and a fancy fucking hat, and runs around with a rapier.
Exactly.
I'm a musketeer. I have a rapier. I have a Bengals because he uses a rapier and Bengals. And I
That's
have a brace of
definitely
pistols. I'm a
That's
freaking
definitely
musketeer. I don't have, there's a freaking knight in the party who's got full freaking plate armor and a shield, and I'm running around, have at thee, bullshit. It's the way you play your character and the shit that you do.
Yeah, Hungar Fantasy to be French.
No, I'm actually Spaniard. I'm more like Inigo Montoya.
Oh, I see. But Bo, like you say, like the fighter without his gear. What if the magic user loses spell book?
Well, what if he's okay? And if you're playing real D&D, what if the magic user doesn't have any spell components?
Yeah,
It's part of the wussification of D&D to make things easier and easier for the players.
it's always like end waves.
Yeah,
No, I use it all, but I also use the weapon versus armor tables that most people don't use. I'm pretty rules is written when it comes to AD&D. Now, Bo, you were talking about
the weapon's gonna mess somebody up in a chainmail shirt, and I know that from experience because when I was in the SCA, me and my brother both got chainmail shirts for Christmas, right? So we go out there with just our kidney belts on for protecting your kidneys with our chainmail shirts and stuff. We look cool as shit, but when you get clubbed with that freaking stick, you know it. It leaves a really neat waffle pattern bruise on your body.
Right. Well, see,
like
the thing a lot of people forget about D&D is that just because you missed doesn't mean you didn't hit. What I mean by that is you had hit points that represented not just your physical body, but things like luck and endurance and stamina and things like that. So just because the monster swings and with the penalties and bonuses and all that crap, he doesn't hit per se, doesn't mean you didn't get touched with the weapon. It just means you're not taking any damage.
Right, but that doesn't change the fact that in D&D, a martial character without gear is just a normal dude.
Brother?
But if you don't know how to defend yourself with your hands and feet or a stick because you've never tried to do so, you've always had the luxury of having a sword, then you're not in a great position when you lose your armor and weapons. That's
real life. That's not D&D.
Well, no, it was. I mean, how is it not D&D? If
in D&D, if you're playing a fighter character and you lose your sword or your sword breaks, you can pick up a freaking club and whack somebody on the side of the head.
Be successful against high-level monsters. Because at high level, again, they talk about things like challenge rating or whatever, right? If the level of the monster represents the level of the party, including their gear, and you fight something like a large green dragon or a beholder or a white or a vampire, and you lose your magic gear, you are screwed. You are effed in the A.
That's why you have to run. Not every encounter was meant to be defeated.
I agree with that, but the point is that in D&D especially relies upon a continuous magic item creep.
I disagree.
You can disagree, but it's mechanical.
I have to disagree with you too because in games I've played in and games I've ran, we've gone a long time without anybody ever getting a magic weapon.
I tend to agree with
Games is notorious for not giving out magic weapons.
Yeah, just as the monsters get harder, the players go up in levels and get more hit points.
I would tend to agree with Bo that the game expect by the way the rules, and you can always go out there and I always make the game a little more challenging by doing so. But the game does expect that you're gonna get some magic item every each
well,
level.
That's part of the fantasy element of it. Is you should at some point find something that's worth the shit. But at the same time, if you throw in the weapon specialization, and I know Sean's going to be like, no, you don't use Unearthed Arcana. Well, if you do, which I do believe you should, or at least have it as an option, your ability to hit and damage gets greater, that can easily overcompensate or compensate for the fact that you might not have a magic weapon.
What a great Manic Monday show. I mean, we're getting heated
And
up.
what's up,
against
guys?
this.
Just to break in here on this, what Hungar said, yes, when I DM AD&D, I can be a bit stingy with magic items, but that doesn't mean that the players never get magic items.
No, but when we get a magic item, it's a big deal.
It's kind of a big deal, and also by the time the characters are like level 5, they each probably have some magic thing. You know, it's not like I'm going to force them to be like running around my world at level 7 with no magic items at all, trying to fight monsters that can only be hit by magic items, because that would be, in my opinion, a dick move.
Absolutely.
But I'm just like not the guy that's gonna the first level party kills a band of orcs and now they get a +3 or +2, whatever. That's kind of what he meant. That's how I play it. You know, magic, in my opinion, should be rare.
Well, here's a thought. It can be rare, but the players are exceptional, and by that definition, they are themselves rare.
Okay. I have a question for you, Shadow, about that then, okay? Magic is rare and your party is exceptional. So what does the fighter do with this +1 sword when he gets the +3 sword then? That sword is still in your economy, making magic less rare.
Ideally, believe it or not, what original AD&D, I think, and some other versions would recommend is that by then you probably have some henchmen and hirelings, and you pass it down.
Sure. So, but the magic is still not rare then, because that magic is still in your economy. It's still in your party.
By the fact
that microcosm of your group, it's not rare, but in the overall,
exactly, the rest of the world would look up to these heroes as heroes, something beyond the ordinary. This band of.
And I agree with that. I think the party. I think that the paladin, the cavalier, the ranger should be a hero based on his skills, not based on the weapon he wields.
Yeah, but unfortunately,
I agree with both.
Versions of D&D kind of assume that as the players level, they will have certain magic items.
And again, this is something that I'm hoping
that's
that
an assumption of the rule set.
That's my debate. That's what I'm talking about.
Like if you look at the tournament adventures, it'll even say, you pick your character, then you pick the slot or the gear, whatever. Like Lost Tomb, say the pure tournament one that Gary Gygax wrote, and every choice has like a ton of magic items. Like if you pick the thief, you get like a magic dagger and some magic armor and a ring and like 4 potions of invisibility. You know, I'm going by memory. I could pull it out and look at it.
And don't forget, not every single magic item.
But then again, these are 10th level characters.
Right. And not every magic item, like magic leather armor, it's not going to glow and tell everybody it's magical. It's just going to look good, you know? So it's not like everywhere you walk, you're seeing people walking down the street glowing and shit, you know? There's also master crafted type
wearing glowing armor. That would be an issue.
Right. You know, there are also, the equivalent of master crafted weapons where they will give you a plus to hit and damage, but they're not magical. They're just superior. And you could throw that in. And especially at low levels, I like to do that first so that, the number, as you would call it, creep, is being compensated for. But if you want to tone it down, with making magic seem a little bit more rare and more special, throwing stuff like that in, will go a very long way. You find armor, it's +1, but it's not magical.
Well, I was actually considering the opposite. My favorite magic items at low level, or really any level D&D, is the sword doesn't give you a plus to damage or hit. It allows you to hit monsters that are only hit by magic items. You want to fight Grendel, you got to have the sword that lets you kill Grendel.
There are a lot of monsters in AD&D First Edition, if you go through that monster manual, there are a lot of monsters that cannot be hit by mundane weapons.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's cool. I think it's cool to have, again.
The only problem with that is because of the number creep, as you start fighting more and more challenging creatures, the player's ability to hit them becomes even great.
That's exactly my point. We're not making the fighters better. We're giving them better gear. Let's make the fighters better.
I like what Bo was saying about what you do with that magic weapon when you get a more powerful magic weapon that's still in the economy. Like I was saying earlier, you're not going to roll into a small town and try to sell a +1 sword because chances are there's not enough gold in the entire damn town to buy a magic sword.
Like even if they added it all together.
I added every piece of gold and silver in the entire damn town. Collectively, there's not going to be enough there to actually be able to afford a weapon that was crafted by somebody who spent tons of stuff and experience and blood, sweat, and tears.
Well, yeah, there's no reason why they
unless the magic becomes so common that you're living at Hogwarts. I mean, if you turn D&D into Harry Potter, where magic is just everywhere, like the average, Forgotten Realms. You're playing in Forgotten Realms. There's magic. Literally, you walk down the street and you trip over a magic ring. Then it's going to become very cheap.
God, what's your view on this? I want to hear from mages.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to take in the conversation, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things around that. Like 5th edition, obviously, they did make it Harry Potter. Yeah. I don't know how many of you played 5th Ed, but it's anime Harry Potter. It's that sort of thing. So magic is second nature. I'm sort of on the ball of restricting magic, keeping it rare enough, but at the same time, going from a pure game mechanic sort of thing for AD&D, it's designed around the idea that you're getting so much loot, including magic at a time. And it's got a metric that will deprive your players of said magic. Like when in my AD&D game, they look at the magic and more often than not, they sell it because they would rather have the money. Right? They purge all the magic. So from a game mechanic standpoint, it keeps it nice and rare, even if they find a lot, which I don't necessarily have happen. But now the other thing you were talking about is the power creep. AD&D is interesting for power creep because it's very slow. It's incremental. I can't remember who said it. I was just logging in when I think it was Bo was talking about how you have to give more power as you level up. Was that you saying that?
Yeah, to your characters. If your PCs, especially your martial PCs.
Well, martial characters do advance the fastest. Their power not counting a wizard, but in terms of physical combat, they go up the fastest. Now you were talking about how an unarmored fighter versus an average Joe is on equal grounds, and that's absolutely incorrect. You give even a 4th level fighter versus a 0 level Joe, both unarmored, both with a dagger, that 4th level fighter is going to annihilate that 0 level.
That's true. So I was talking about the 4th level fighter against a monster of the same challenge rating without his gear. He's gonna get pasted.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing about the creep. Now, First Ed specifically, I mean, the other editions are slightly different. First Ed is designed around sort of an average. There's a section on demographics where they talk about how player character classes are 1 in 100, right? So you have to consider that demographic in terms of, okay, what's the population of the world? So you're in a city with a population of 1,000, you're going to have 10 leveled characters. You can tweak the number a little bit because a city would obviously draw in more important people, but those are going to be very high. So that's important to consider as well. Like you're not going to be walking into cities and encountering 10th level guards at the drop of a dime. Everybody's going to be on average 0 level. Now, a good DM, or in my estimation, a decent DM will maintain that average even with the monsters. Hello, doggo.
Chewy, come here.
I don't like escalating just because the players are high level. I don't like escalating the world. That's the sort of the Skyrim elevation bullshit, where the world.
Right. Oh God, I hate
level up.
Yeah, I freaking hated that. Here's the thing, Bo. Check this out. take like a 5th level ranger who actually has the equivalent of 6 hit dice, right? And a decent con. He loses all his weapons. He's out in the wild and he comes across a brown bear that might be like 4 or 5 hit dice.
Sure.
The bear should win because the bear is ready, because that's what a bear has, is claws and teeth. The ranger should freaking run, climb up a tree, go into the river, something like that. He should not think, I'm going to Ted Nugent his
climb
ass
up a
and
tree,
just,
though.
karate chop him into submission, okay?
Be a man,
Yeah,
climb up a
Nature
tree
gave
and
us
do
no
it.
weapons.
Be a man, climb up a tree and do an atomic elbow drop. You're going to die, but you're not going to die a pussy.
And forever known as Ragnar
Bears
Bearsword.
can climb trees really good.
Yeah,
Right.
bears
No, that's why I
bears
said
don't
the
lose
river
their
or
weapons.
run or something. Mother Nature gave all the creatures and the monsters built-in weapons. We're tool users, and a fighter losing his weapons and what have you should.
But you know what? You're
thinking
forgetting
about recovering
With-
that.
With
edge.
rare exception, the monsters don't advance, right?
Exactly.
The monsters are pretty static, and then that's the important thing about maintaining those demographics. So, an advanced player, he's not. The world isn't going to meet his level, so he will stand out. There's a reason that on level titles, a 4th level fighter is called a hero, and an 8th level is a superhero, because by comparison to the average, an 8th level fighter is a superhero. He gets 8 attacks per round against the average Joe, right?
Yeah.
What were you going
Yes.
to say, James?
Yeah. What I was going to say in response to Shadow's 8th level ranger versus a bear, what is preventing that ranger from grabbing a tree limb, using effectively as either a club or a staff, and beating that bear to death?
Well, right, but we were talking. Bo was, specifically talking unarmed, without weapons, because yes, you can improvise pretty well, and if you're a ranger, within the first 5 minutes of losing your weapon, you should already be looking around to fix that problem. Maybe not getting your old stuff back, but making a spear, a club, hell, even a stone hatchet, within an hour. Just
Yeah, I
from
seem to remember a game where a dwarf cleric beat a bunch of troglodytes to death with a rock.
Yeah,
Right.
that
Right, you're
was
not going to
me.
use your hands and fists and feet against almost anything. That's what the monk
Which
is
was
for.
Hungar's character.
It wasn't a rock, it was a stone sacrificial bowl.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because you found their altar, and it had a big carved, like, thick stone bowl on it. And he grabbed that stone bowl, and when he encountered some troglodytes, he was just waylaying them. And I mean, troglodytes are kind of tough creatures, but he was like a level 6 dwarf cleric. I
Right.
allowed it.
And if he makes it past the stench, he should do okay.
He
Provided
did okay.
he doesn't
He
just
survived.
provided he doesn't just run into the mass of them. You're also supposed to use your intellect to try to funnel them to you.
I was a dwarf cleric. I didn't have any intellect.
There are many stories of where a small number of men defeated a larger number of men because of funneling and things like that. They didn't just go run in and just do a Conan thing. You use your brains. I mean, even at first level, if your party isn't all like focusing on one goblin, then the next goblin, then the next goblin, you are gonna die.
Well, no,
Right,
and I
guys?
agree with that. That's not that mean, but that's in terms of like role playing and being a good player. I mean, the player that plays the cleric or the player that plays the magic user has that same amount of intellect, but he also has magic spells. All I'm saying is that it seems to me that martial classes are imbalanced in the game because they're so gear centric.
Yeah,
and magic user player should be
I
shamed.
agree with that.
That's why you got to use things like spell components and shit like that
Absolutely.
against your.
Yeah, I mean, you can always run the monk. Monks learned how to use a lot of weapons. They get
When I play a monk, I don't play an Eastern monk. I play a Western monk with a little funky haircut. Like Friar Tuck.
But even then, they are at the very least, not. They're a very martial class and can easily hold their own without any weapon whatsoever.
There's also like a
price. It does suck for 5 or 6 levels to get there.
Yeah, but it depends on the campaign, because I know in my campaign world, I generally do not allow Eastern style monks.
Sure.
But if I'm running in Greyhawk, I allow monks because
Yeah, I don't know where.
There's a
where
whole
like,
area in Greyhawk that's actually ruled over by
The Scarlet Brotherhood.
the
Yeah.
Scarlet Brotherhood, which are all
Yeah, I've never been in a game where monks were anything other than awesome. To be honest, most DMs didn't like them because I always thought
if you can get a couple levels on them at first
Yeah,
level,
exactly.
one
You gotta
shot
get-
from a goblin can kill a monk. I mean,
Exactly.
that's a die 4 hit die person.
You can't play the monk
hold
as
on,
a
let me
frontline
check
fighter.
something. I want to check something real quick, guys.
I made him get his AD&D book because we're arguing about magic.
Well, no, we don't need the book now. We have Sean.
There's no argument. Martial classes depend
I
on.
want to address something
and
Bill said
equipment.
about balance, and one of the great things about AD&D is that no, there is no balance. It doesn't have to be. That's the beautiful thing about it.
It doesn't
Right.
have to be. You're playing as a group. You should be like helping each other out, not
And you should be running more
being
often than
worried
fighting.
about who's more
Not necessarily
powerful
running, but
individual.
avoiding
Balance in role playing game like is a fool's errand.
It's a
Because,
fool's errand,
it's
yeah.
so it's so dependent. You got so much freedom what you can do, and so dependent on the skill of the player as well. And imagine if the player
That's
is.
true. It's better the skill of the player, but I mean, you could. There are role playing games out there that are not level based, that are not class based games.
Yeah.
What it comes down to is players working as a team. When we first started playing our Warhammer Fantasy role-playing game, it sucked because we were not working as a team. The game's going a lot smoother. We're able to do a lot more now that we're all working together. If you
That's
get a
something
group-
players have to learn. They have to learn to work together.
Yeah, if you get a group of a bunch of people who want to be individuals, the game is not going to run smoothly.
But that can be part of the story too. Is that you get these everybody's a cowboy, wants to be the hero, and they have to learn to work together. That to me is not a problem.
Getting back to AD&D though, at higher levels, right? You know, the mage is way more powerful than the fighter.
Sure.
They still
but-
need those fighters.
But you still need that couple fighters just to stand in the way so that the mage can get his spells off.
And also like a question of like the mage being too powerful, which I think is often the case. But I have very biased. I'm strongly biased against mage. But it's also like you need to manage those fucking long rests. Too many GM like give like long rests like too easily. You know what I mean?
We're
In the
talking
middle of
That's
dungeon.
first
What
edition.
the fuck's the long rest?
There's
Well,
no-
I mean like when you sleep to regain.
well,
your
there
spell.
is an AD&D. It's you sleep
when you meet
for
to
8
regain
hours
your,
overnight.
exactly. They didn't call it
You
long
get a
rest.
whole
but
hit
you
point
need
back.
And yeah, you get
No,
one
but you
or
get
two
your
hit
spell
points
back
back,
also. Like you
depending.
get a chance to get your spell slot back, even in older edition when you sleep. No.
Yeah, I don't play that short rest bullshit where if you sit down and relax for an hour, you get your spells back.
Yeah, that's 5th edition.
No,
stuff.
no. It's still a long rest in 5th edition. To like, you need to sleep 8 hours if you're a mage to regain your spell. But
Right.
like even like you know when you have like a party, like they have like 2 encounter in dungeon, and now we're in the camp for the night. Yeah, man, you've been like fucking here for 2 hours. You know what I mean? You just like fucking woke up.
But that's not a problem. That's not a problem to me because AD&D, especially resource management, is super important.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's not like 5th edition where I cast Goodberry, we're fed for a week.
Yeah,
I cast my
man, that's a worse spell.
endlessly renewable light spell. No, like they're going in, they can only take so many torches and oil in because it weighs you down. You know, they spend 2 hours
Just
in
like
the
water.
like water, yeah, food and water. So yeah, let them go and rest because it's going to drain the resources.
It takes you
that's an
10
issue.
minutes to move 100 feet in a dungeon.
If you're going exploration speed, yeah.
Yeah, you know.
But that's the thing, like
Because if you're not going exploration speed, then
set off
your
the traps.
chances of spotting a trap or an ambush are much lower.
that's what I'm saying. Like if you make the stress too really available, and it's too easy for them to regain their spell slot and stuff like that. Yes, you're gonna make the wizard more powerful. Then that's also one thing that I would say like make is gonna make the magical class more powerful than martial class, because at some point like the mage is supposed to run out of spell at some or try to preserve its spell, and then at the end of the day people need to rest. I didn't cast all my spell, I kind of wasted some spell slot. But you need to have this uncertainty with the magical class.
That's never a problem. I can tell you in 1st edition it's never a problem. And even though like the way magic recovers in 1st edition is also very different. Like you only need 4 hours of rest to recover a 1st and 2nd level spell, then you need 6 for 3rd and 4th, and so on and so on. but you
Yeah.
also need 15 minutes per spell level. So if
Right.
you have high level,
which is often fucking end wave. I don't know in
I
your
don't-
experience.
No,
Oh,
no,
you
it's-
don't?
No. I've got that memorized. Sean's exactly right. You don't just include that in the 8 hours. It's like, okay, you've rested now.
It's a
You're
memory.
gonna do 15 minutes per spell level.
But that's my
Plenty.
point. Like that's my point. Like if you end wave those, if you make it too easy to regain the spell, and maybe my experience was different, and maybe that's why I have a strong bias against mage. Like that was like so often like end wave by GM and say like, oh yeah, you can regain your spell.
but you're preaching to the choir, Max. We all agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hand wave any of that shit. I'm one of the only guys who uses the weapon versus armor table. For most DMs, that was too much more math to add to the whole process. I'm like, no, you just write it down.
Yeah, I use it all the time. I love it.
Yeah,
That's a beautiful
I have
thing.
a couple of the spinny wheels that figure it out.
yeah. I really need one of those that would
But
speed
we
things
ended
up.
up just by player vote. We ended up just saying, it just makes things a little slower than we like. So screw it, whatever.
It doesn't slow it down. You're right. It's an extra step, but it doesn't slow it down to the point where it diminishes the game.
Right.
And
And once you call out that negative number or positive number, as the case may be, they just add that in, as a situational factor and just move on.
Well, here's what I do. And this actually makes it fairly quick. So bonuses to opponents to the player's attack rolls are added to their die roll.
And
Penalties I subtract from the armor class of the target, so they never see their penalties. So they're not doing, okay, I got to add this, subtract this. They only add bonuses, which makes it real fast for them. If they're attacking a creature, and I'm one of those DMs who doesn't tell them the armor class, right? So if you're fighting a thief with leather armor, he's got a dex of 16. I don't say, well, he's got AC 6. I'll say, no, the armor type is 8. You don't know what his final AC, but you do know his armor type, and then you can look at your sheet and say, oh, I'm +2 against armor type 8, whatever. And then you can add the modifiers. And that makes it go really fast.
Not only that, but I find that in a lot of cases, like say you go into a dungeon, a lot of the monsters are going to have the exact same freaking armor type. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're all wearing chainmail. Okay, cool. They all now know they're using chainmail. Because if they're smart and they've actually done their homework a little, they might go, you know what? The hammer's going to be better at fighting them
than my spear. My hammer will be +1 against chainmail. My spear is -1. So yeah, I'm going to use my hammer.
Think a little more tactically and realistically. If you can size up your opponent, you're not going to bring the knife to the gunfight.
I want to say something about what Sean was saying about I understand why you do it, like not telling the AC to the player and stuff like that, just like armor type you want to. And you say it help with the speed as well because they don't have to add and subtract some stuff. But what I say, I like to usually I'm just gonna tell my player when I play when I used to run. It's been a while. When I used to run those type of D&D game, I would just tell them usually after the first hit, I would just tell them, you need that to hit. Like at some point, just because they can figure out what the math that they have to do on the dice roll, and then they can just say for all other round, they know that if I roll a 12 on the dice, I hit. So now it goes very fast to say, okay, I hit, I miss. You take away this guessing game of say oh, I got 17, and then the GM say, well, that's a miss.
Well, I just have them tell me what AC they hit. So they'll roll their dice. Oh, I hit AC 4, and then I'm like, okay.
Yeah, but then you have this back and forth of they have to tell you something, and you have to tell them if they hit or not. If you tell them right away you're gonna hit on that, then that goes much faster. It does take away something that now you reveal some information that they wouldn't be privy to, but I think it makes it much more faster because now they don't they figure it out once what they need on the dice, so they don't even need to add their +2 or their +3 to it. You know what I mean? It's just
I got to tell you right now.
I agree with Max.
Right, it's faster. I just don't mind
exactly.
It really doesn't. Slow it to a point of diminishing.
Like I said, it does take something away. You sacrifice something, you get more speed. You do lose something else, so at some point it's you deciding which one is more important to your game.
But eventually you get so proficient in the way you're doing it that it's fast anyway. So
it's just what you get used to doing.
If you have to rememorize a 6-level spell,
if you get used, if your party and your DM gets used to playing the game a certain way, it's going to get faster the more you play. Right. It's like anything else. It's like muscle memory for your noggin, man.
Yep.
Yeah, and I never ever. I don't know about you guys, but I never tell
Hungar
them.
knows that I never tell the players the AC of anything.
And I'm not a fan of telling the AC to.
They roll the die 20 and they say, "Oh, I've got a whatever," and I'll be like, "Well, you." Then I'll be like, "You lunge forward and stab the whatever. Roll your damage."
Mhm.
And a lot of times I make them roll the damage at the same time as they roll the die 20.
Well, like I said, I tell them I let them know the AC type of what the armor of the enemy's
Well,
wearing.
yeah, when they run up on a bugbear and they see the bugbears wearing studded leather armor,
right? You know your AC type.
Yeah, you're going to know when you see the monster. If the monster's wearing plate mail armor, your character's smart enough to say, "Hey, that motherfucker."
But on the other hand, and I'm me up here too, a lot of times I just make up monsters that are not in the book.
Sure.
The thing is, like,
then the players have no freaking idea what, like the Parachineks or whatever, the undead fetuses.
Oh yeah, those are fucking awesome.
I remember you called me the next day complaining because you said that you had nightmares that night.
Yeah, we're running through the woods and we run up against a bunch of undead fucking newborns.
You went looking for them.
Well, I have nightmares of the two of you with clean-shaven faces. So I mean,
they heard babies crying, and the thing is, in my homebrew world of Towngrad, if you have a miscarriage or you give birth to a child, but then you leave it out in wood to die, and it doesn't receive the proper burial rituals, there is a chance it becomes possessed with a type of a demon.
I like
and
it already.
basically turns into a vampiric type creature.
That's freaking brutal. That's
they hide out in the woods, these little infants, and a lot of times if they know someone's around, they'll cry.
There's something
and
I
then
want
when
to say
you
about
go
that.
to try to find the crying baby, you got
surprise, motherfuckers.
And it will jump you and try to bleed you out.
What were you trying to say, Max?
About the revealing AC, like one thing I like to do is reduce like the mechanical talk at the table. I want to keep the talk as much as possible in character and stuff like that. So if I tell you like what you need to hit once, then you don't have to tell me like, oh, I got this. Okay, I tell you hit.
Right.
You can just like you roll your dice. If you hit or not. You can roll your damage, and then you can right away go to the description of what you're doing. Like, oh, okay, I'm slashing in.
Yeah, see, Max, I was just going to say something about that. I will never ever tell you what you need to roll to hit. You tell me what you roll, and I want to see all your rolls. Because I have found so many times players will fudge their rolls.
But I don't play with fucking retarded people. So
when you're fudging your rolls, you're just fucking yourself in the game. Yeah. You're making it in the game unfun.
And yet I've seen it in every game. I've seen it in every game I've played online. I've seen it. Okay. Unless you're using like a dice
online dice roller.
Okay, yours might be the exception there, Bo. But in like Table Breakers and other places I've been, where the GM is like,
we're talking about one guy in particular for crying out.
No, I'm not actually.
But we're basically arguing garnish, though. It's like like Max says, he prefers it because it adds just a little bit of efficiency to his game. I like, and same with you, Shadow. We like keeping the AC secret just for that little extra hint of mystery. I love when players are attacking an enemy and I hit AC one,
not just mystery,
and they're like, holy shit!
It's not just mystery though. I like the tension of them not knowing because I don't want to give them the idea of the dex bonus or who knows. Like I can remember times where I would tell them what they need to hit, and they go, "Oh, he's wearing magic armor," because they can do the math.
They're doing math in their head.
Well, if you've been playing AD&D for 10 years, I mean,
use that right there. What Max is showing on the screen.
Yeah,
right. I like that because that'll also clue them into that they, that the guy's wearing something magical. Maybe it's not the armor. Maybe it's a ring. And then they're going to be like, okay, we're going to strip, and now we're going to sit down and detect magic on, all his crap to find out where the magic item is.
My players do that anyway.
Yeah, I was going to say that's just after the big fight. That's just going to happen.
They any loot they find, they dump it into a pile, and somebody casts detect magic. That's
And to go back to the player finds +2 sword, but he had +1 sword. In my game, generally speaking, the player would give the +1 sword to another character who might not have a +1 sword.
You see, that's the thing. Like,
but could use a sword, but
or like I said, a henchman
weapon.
With the magic item thing, like finding magic item, like I would never want in my game that somebody find a magic item and just say like, you know, you're just like, it's not something I want. I don't want like have this feeling. So sometimes what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do like a magic item that grows with the character. So you're gonna find one. You're not gonna find another one to replace it, but the one you got is gonna grow. I also like I said, magic item to be
that's
rare
a good idea,
and to be legendary.
That's a great idea.
Like let's say you would do like something like Excalibur as a magic item. It's a magic sword.
I do tend to create every magic sword or whatever in my game. I tend to create a background to it.
Exactly. It makes sense.
Give it a name and all that. Even a +1 sword could be, you know, Carindel, Slayer of Orcs, blah, blah,
A +1 sword should be a big deal.
Yeah.
But, you know what another solution is that I like to do? I tend to, because I don't have a problem
on the magic chart, but then they roll something too powerful, so you say no and give them something else.
No. I'll give them something. I'll give them something that's so enticing.
Hungar's flipping me off.
Give them something so enticing that they're never going to cut loose with it.
That cut me deep, homie. That cut me deep.
You know, a +2 sword.
Been like 20 years. You still get that. That's still tender.
You give the players like a +2 sword with a teleport one time a day or something, you know, maybe not that cool, but something you know they're never going to want to cut loose with. I've seen them pass up on a +3 or a +4 sword because it's just a number bonus. They want that thing.
Exactly. That's what I was with it. That's actually what I was about to say, Shadow. Like make the magic item something interesting, something cool. You know, in the sense that like that's so I wanted to say like the example of Excalibur. Maybe you give it like a +1 and stuff like that, but make it like but you get like +2 on reaction roll. And so because you show the sword and people are impressed and stuff like that, you know.
Let's not
like,
leave.
Yeah, make something like make something like a little more interesting than just like it better. You know, it's always it better and stuff like that. You know,
there's a lot of things to do like that are like that. Imagine a sword that has like a compass built into it. You know, a true sense of direction. Or then there's always like the +1 against specific creature types. You know, +1 against. Oh, the
reptiles.
Or something
when they know they're going to be fighting reptiles for the next 6 months to a year, I don't even have a problem giving out like an actual holy sword to 5th level paladin because I'm done. I don't have to worry about it. Sure, he's going to hit a lot. I don't care.
So okay, here's a terminology I take exception to.
He's never going to cut loose with it.
Sorry, Shadow. The terminology I take exception to is give the players.
You don't give them; they earn that shit.
Yeah, they find it. I don't give it to them. I don't actually plan the magic items unless there's the exception where, like, you're talking about paladin. I got 2 paladins in my AD&D game, and they're like talking about maybe we should hire a sage to find a location of a holy avenger. In which case, I'll give them that chance to go find one.
They can quest. Like you can give hints that there's a certain magical weapon out there.
I don't give anything. They find it, and usually I determine treasures magically or randomly.
I like to do random,
everything starting with the ability to be in my game. I'm a bit fair but beneficent lord and liege to everyone at the table. I'm going to more or less tailor make a lot of what's going on. I don't roll random for everything. I just, as Shauna would say, I'm too much of a control freak for that.
I roll random for magical weapons, magical items. But if a player character, say like a paladin, wants to quest for a holy weapon, or another player finds, gets hints and rumors that there's a certain item out there that they want to find, then I could write up an adventure for them to quest for said weapon.
Well, that's different.
So they have to do certain things and accomplish certain things to be able to find and use this weapon. that is a good way, in my opinion, to bring it in where a player character can find and get the magic weapon they want. Other than that, that shit's going to be random. And James is dancing in the
He's
background.
dancing. You must have found a magic weapon.
I got myself some of these.
Or his lady brought him home something
And
special.
we have the new thing of milk.
A magic snack.
When I
Need a magic snack.
She brought him home a magic Red Bull.
+2 laxative. He's been stocked up, right?
Glue.
Oh,
Dude.
it's magic. Don't eat it. That's
I
not a
go
snack.
through probably one of these every 3 or 4 days.
Really?
Yeah.
Super glue?
That's an
Yep.
addiction, man.
Gorilla Glue.
Well, I'm building so many things all the time. And because a lot of the things I'm building are either resin or some kind of thing like that, only super glue will hold it.
Do you use the activator?
DMJ,
I'm the same way with my liquid plastic cement.
Boxy?
But I have,
Yes.
there's the ongoing trope and medium of spilling your paint pots. I have that problem with my tester's model glue. I've spilled 2 entire bottles because I forget to put the cap on all the way, and I go and pick it up by the cap, and then bloosh, I'm covered in freaking plastic cement.
I've never spilt glue, but the other day during a stream when I was on Hungar stream, I spilled half a bottle of Agrax Earthshade right down the front because I had it in my hand with the brush.
is that the one that you
I like
can?
tip the brush up.
This is the glue I use too much.
So,
This is the glue I abuse, the fucking wood glue.
I got a question, bro.
What?
How do you feel about players questing for certain weapons?
I love it.
Yep.
Yeah, let them do the work for me.
Yeah,
they want something,
wa-
great. I don't have to write the adventure. It's already done.
The paladin wants a holy sword.
Right.
he
And you drain
quests
the
for it.
resources too, because they have to spend through the nose to find
Then
the
you
stage.
come up
What about
with
He knows
where that
it's
holy
located.
sword might be, and it
Bribes
could be
to officials.
a month's journey away into a dangerous land.
What about a weapon becoming magical because it's in the hand of a great hero, the player character? You know,
That-
you stick with a few level, and now like it become like magical. And if at some point like it get transferred to somebody else, I don't know, maybe it can like get some. You killed a lot of orc with that sword. It became like an orc sling sword, whatever. And just like
That's not a bad idea.
That's
Well, what
kind
I
of
was
cool
thinking
idea
about,
because it reminds me of. Okay, think about the superhero Achilles.
Yep.
Any weapon Achilles picked up would practically be a magic weapon
Right.
because of just the aura of Achilles. You know, he's just the greatest dude ever. You know.
Yeah,
I
I wouldn't be
think
opposed to creating a pair of bracers or a ring or something like that that imbues whatever weapon that player's using as a magic weapon. And if it was already magic, I might throw them an extra +1 on top of that. I really like making like non-standard magic items more than putting, whatever is in the book. That way, it's always open-ended. At any moment, I can go, oh, well, you know what? It had this other ability, but you didn't know about it. Now you do, kind of thing. In addition to like weapons that grow with the player, I
Yes.
really like that idea. That way, it cuts down on, too many
Squirrel
trinkets around.
Squirrel Herbert's screaming out to us that that's what Hackmaster does. Mr. Max says that's what Riptide does, and he likes that concept. And in certain
the player that
idea
gets
of the
the +140
integration of a character
can
bleeding off.
reforge it or have it enchanted again.
Sure.
Finds rare gems that he can hire a holy man or a mystic to imbue his sword with another +1. I really like because that's the best of both worlds. It keeps the economy of magic items down. It takes the player's resources away, so it keeps them poor, right, Shadow?
Yeah,
They got
one thing people don't take
10,000
into account in AD&D, the creation of a magic item is such a massive undertaking, not because of necessarily the ingredients, But without the spell permanency, that magic is temporary. And in order to do a permanency, that wizard's going to have to give up a Constitution point.
No, 1 in 20.
Right,
I got another one for you. Listen to that. The Japanese believe that, well, they used to believe, I don't think they actually believe that anymore. Maybe. But the Japanese believe that when an object reach 100-year-old, the spirit of the object would awaken. And then they could be like haunted, or they can be like beneficent and stuff like that. You don't know. But it was like when the object was 100-year-old. What if you do something like that? A weapon become 100-year-old, or an object become 100-year-old. Its spirit awaken. And you don't know what it's gonna be, but then you can have like this trace, like, this sword is fucking like 96-year-old. If you want it, you can keep it for like a few more years, and it's gonna become magical. You don't know how, you don't know what it's gonna be.
Well, it awakens, becomes an intelligent sword.
Yeah,
but I like that Turtle Squatch. That's actually kind of a neat idea.
It's like a family sword, where the first person in the family that ever received the sword, it was just a really good, well-made weapon.
Yeah.
And he used this weapon for his entire career, and he passes it down. So it becomes a family heirloom, and over time, it develops special abilities because it's been in this family for so long. Let's say somebody in that family is using that sword, it's going to perform better and do better for the family member than it would for some average Joe.
Yep.
Although I know for a fact, because I have several antique blades, that doesn't always happen, guys.
No, it never happens. Because in real life, if you use a sword through more than one battle, unless your sword was made by it's a master smith, it's going to end up chipped and cracked and look like.
Yeah, but we're talking about a fantastical world. We're not talking about Joe Bob out here with a $15 to $100 sword they bought at the flea market chopping.
Well, also, we know that people like repair their sword a lot. Sometimes they reuse the blade. Sometimes like a sword would become a dagger later on.
The Japanese wakizashi.
Because of the brittleness of Japanese steel, a lot of times the wakizashi they're carrying and their
started life as
a katana.
A wakizashi starts life off as a katana.
A lot of times, and only
a lot of katana.
A samurai in service to a daimyo can carry the katana and the wakizashi.
But and a lot of katana started their life as a longer tashi as well.
Yeah.
What's crazy is if you go far enough back in Japanese history, their swords were straight. They were using basically long swords.
The curve in a Japanese sword is not forged. They don't forge in the curve of a Japanese sword. The curve appears when the punching process.
Yeah,
part of the tempering.
Yep. Everybody always thinks that, the katana is the greatest weapon ever, but most samurai warriors in battle fought with a spear
and a bow. They were archers
as well. But they had the yari, which is a pretty long spear with an iron pointed head on it, and they would do a lot of their work with the yari.
Yeah, and I said samurai loved guns too. They freaking loved them.
And then if they were Crab Clan, they might have a Tetsubo.
Because Tetsubo's the superior weapon.
Which is just basically a giant iron-studded club.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. That's baller right there.
Oh, the
Tetsubo's for the win.
But I just went from actual Japanese history to Legend of the Fight.
Hey, you know what? There was Tetsubos in Japan anyway.
Personal question to those of you who are roughly my age, so Hungar and James. I think, Bo, you're in your mid-40s?
47.
47, you're close enough. So did you see the movie Krull before you knew anything about polearms and assumed a glaive was a star that you threw around?
Yeah. No, I actually knew what that was. And
I knew a glaive was a polearm. I could set that aside and be like, what?
I'll fucking blow your mind. A glaive in French, glaive, is a gladius.
So the French were all fucked up.
No, it's actually, it's the a glaive is the polearm also come from French, but it's like basically like a gladius on a stick.
Yeah, exactly. It's a
Because-
knife and a stick.
We knew all about polearms and shit before we saw the movie Crow because we're playing D&D before then.
Yeah, I
Right,
came out in '83.
Yeah, that's
I
right,
wasn't
yeah,
into
exactly.
D&D
Yeah, I
until
was,
86, so.
because I didn't start playing D&D until maybe 88.
Gary Gygax loved polearms.
Well, because
What's
Gary
not
Gygax
to love?
and those
And
guys
he
were
had
war
like
gamers.
every freaking polearm that ever existed, ever, and pictures of them. And it was like the glaive and the mind gouge and the freaking, the
Lucian,
halberd and
the
this
Lucian
and the
hammer and
The Bec de Corbin.
yeah, that dude.
And the Lutheran
loved
hammer
polearms.
isn't actually a hammer.
The Lucian armor is my favorite. Yes, it is. There's a hammer head on it, but that's my
Yeah.
favorite. It's
But
Lucian
for
armor
some
like the barbarian.
reason,
It's got the
most
same thing.
players never use polearms.
I love polearms.
I love polearms.
You did play a fighter that carried a halberd. I
I mean, I
remember.
love polearms IRL, right?
Yeah, I love polearm. When in SCA, what was my favorite weapon?
They're coming with the sword, and you hit him with a spear and knock him down.
I messed some fools up in the SCA using my glaive.
Well, with the halberd, you could use it as a spear. You can chop with it, and if it's got the hooked back, you could actually drag someone off a horse with it.
Yeah, the
Or
And that
Well, that is
D12 damage didn't hurt none either.
But a lot of people,
Like what Squirrel Limit said there, like polearms make sense when outdoors.
Outdoors
That's
and
also a
surrounded
thing
by
that-
an army of other polearm wielders, so you can create.
Well,
a
I don't run a lot of dungeons. I don't like dungeons.
You're a heathen.
I don't like dungeons. I'd rather have
what
like
game are you playing again?
outdoor campaigns. Dungeons should be very rare in a game because it's not like every freaking town you go to, you're going to find a dungeon.
in my campaign world, because it's built on the remains of another civilization that collapsed, dungeons are not uncommon.
Yeah, dungeon is a catch-all term. A dungeon doesn't have to be a. Doesn't dungeon in French mean tower? Right.
Yeah.
A dungeon.
A dungeon historically.
A dungeon is above ground.
Historically, the dungeon is the strongest part of a castle. It's the
A
donjon.
keep, right.
It's the keep. Yeah, it's the same thing as a keep. People
And-
like
and it makes
people like
sense.
people saw that. People often confound the dungeon with the oubliette, which are the prison cell under a castle.
The oubliette, which costs 2 black mana to cast and remove the creature
How
from
you
the
keep me
game.
to it?
Oubliette
God,
is where you
you
put
keep me to
people you want to forget about.
Yeah, that's
No,
what
yeah,
oubliette
So,
is.
yeah, in Legends,
Oublier is to
that's
forget in
oubliette.
French.
That's where you
Yeah.
put
That makes
people to
sense.
forget about.
I mean, if I've got a person I really want to forget about, but I put them underground where they can dig their way out, or I put them in a tower where if they go out the window they fall to their death.
No, but the thing
I'd
is like
much rather put someone in prison in a tower than underground.
the thing is like in
Everybody
medieval
knows
time.
towers are for princesses.
That's your English.
No,
blood
in
speaking.
medieval time, you often kept your prisoner in the keep, in the dungeon, because the prisoner you had were prisoner of high status, of noble prisoner that you want to ransom, and
Right,
you
so you're
but
not
you
going
had
to treat them terribly.
you had to keep them according to their station. So if you fucking like, if you capture a king that you want to ransom, you have to give him the best fucking room in your key. It's just like you don't keep him in the dark room. That's not how it was done. Like you're noble, you had like obligation, and it was part of that. You had to keep your prisoner as part of their status, and in exchange, they wouldn't try to escape. It's just like it's just like part of the
It
culture.
was a more civilized time.
Yeah,
That's how
exactly.
you starve to death, right?
Yeah, when the Holy Roman Empire captured King Richard, it's not like they tortured that dude. He lived in the castle, until the British could work up the money to pay the ransom to get him back.
Well, guys, we're running on an hour and 40 minutes.
Time.
So
It was a good conversation.
yeah, the stream is like petering down. Thanks for joining Manic Monday. I think it was a bit manic. We got in some good arguments, had some good discussions. Wednesday, we can pick this up about different types of games, weapons, and stuff in D&D or any other role-playing game. And it was great having you guys on and great having you guys watching on the stream. Like,
See what you
subscribe.
missed out on, Justin?
Actually, he sent me a message a few minutes ago. His alarm didn't go off, and he was just waking up.
Yeah, I kept him too late last night.
Yeah, you probably did. But
we,
like I said,
we had a long stream last night with Justin. We went like for 5 hours. Up until like I think 2:30 in the morning, something like that. So
well, it was a great stream today, guys. Thanks for making it what it was. I couldn't have done it without all of you. And I will catch you all on the flip side.
On the flip. All right.
Happy trails.
And just remember, everything I said about AD&D is absolutely correct because I am the greatest DM ever.
And remember, it's not about the treasure that you find in a D&D game. It's all about the freaking war crimes that you commit.
It's all about the friends you make along the way.
The war crimes you commit. I love it.
take care, guys.